Right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to do a bit of a day in the life of running a digital marketing agency here in a not so sunny Glasgow. Unfortunately, I think our summer's been and gone. But this morning, as you can see, we're in the car. I'm here with Guy, who's just at the camera hiding. We are en route into the podcast studio. We host a bi-weekly podcast called the Risking It All podcast. We have done for the last couple of years now. We record that every couple of weeks in an amazing studio in Glasgow, which is literally just called the Podcast Studio Glasgow. Big up to Mark and Cam. They have the best, in my opinion, they have the best podcast studio set up in Scotland. Every second week we get a new guest on. We have a chat about all things business, the highs, the lows, what got them into business, the challenges, all of that fun stuff. We record for a couple of hours and then we just put it into the ether for people to enjoy. So we're now over 50 episodes deep. It's been a bit of a steep learning curve, in all honesty. I naively thought, this will be an easy wee side gig in among the day-to-day, turn up, have a chat for 2 hours and then forget about it. It's been anything but thankfully now, due to a lot of help for our team members, we have it fairly systemised so that certainly my involvement is I do for the most part turn up on a Tuesday, have a blather, and then forget about it. And then our editors take care of the edit. We've got a VA that looks after chopping up the episode and get it out into our socials and all that fun stuff. So I must admit, I thoroughly enjoy podcasting. As you can probably tell, I'm a talker. And I just like sitting down, talking to other business owners that have achieved something in business, picking their head, seeing if there's a shortcut there that we can grab and implement within our own business in some way, shape or form. And then after the podcast today, we will be taking our guest out for lunch. So the podcast for the first year of its existence was quite random in nature, as in we used to just invite people on, have a good chat, get the episode out, and then we moved on to the next. And then when we started to think about, well, this is taking up a bit of investment, both in terms of time and money, how do we monetize that channel? And rather than thinking about it in the traditional sense, like sponsorship and, AdSense, we're now using the podcast as a bit of a lead magnet. So to bring that to life, if I identify a local business in Scotland that we want to do a bit of work with, and we reach out to the owner and say, we're a marketing agency, we want to have a chat about potentially running some marketing for you, chances are that message will probably get ignored. Whereas if you reach out and say, we have a podcast, we'd love you to come on and tell your story, people like coming on to podcasts for whatever reason, maybe strokes the ego a wee bit. We have a good chat, and then what we do is we jump out for lunch so that we can just continue that chat in a more informal way. And then we can just have a bit of a discussion around our business potentially helping their business with all things marketing. So we'll be taking our guest out for lunch today. He's actually an existing client that joined us a few months back. And after that, we'll be back to the office. I've got a few other tasks to take care of today. None of which are overly glamorous, but vital nonetheless. We have a new team member that's joining us in a couple of weeks, a new business development manager, which is really exciting. So I need to sort a job description or an offer letter and a contract for him. I need to get him set up in our HR system and get all the boring stuff sorted, like right to work documentation and all that fun stuff. I then have a partnership call, which I'm looking forward to. And that's with one of the largest battery manufacturers on the planet. Myself and Guy were at a trade show in Dundee on Guy's first week with Green Tech UK, who are a solar and battery or renewables distributor here in the UK. We met a manufacturer on that day called Goodwe, who are starting to kind of make waves in the UK market. And I have a chat today with their head of marketing, just to really understand how, if at all, can we help them and vice versa. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then out with that, I have a number of just odd sods to sort. A sales call in the diary this afternoon. So a fairly atypical day in the agency. I think a lot of times the gurus online will have you believe that it's all high flying, glamorous travel, but the reality of running an agency is actually very different. It is typically exceptionally repetitive and having to do the boring stuff really well in a disciplined way over and over and over again. So today is absolutely one of those days, but excited for it. And then after work today, I am off to an event called Tartan Talks, which is a networking community here in Scotland. They have a group in Glasgow covering the West Coast, and a group over in Edinburgh covering the East Coast. So I'm taking a couple of people from the surrounding area that are in business along to the community tonight. We meet at least once a month. And again, that's just part of the gig for me, is marketing our business as regularly as I possibly can. We try and get ourselves along to a couple of networking events a month. And I've learned in time with networking events that I used to go, fully enthusiasm with the business cards and the wallet, and think, right, I'm gonna get as many of these business cards dished out as I can and get some business going. But actually, and when you do that, you come across as quite desperate, and you just don't enjoy them as much. So a while back, I kind of changed my tune on all things networking. I only really go to networking events that I think I'm actually going to enjoy. And I'll just have a blather with folk. If somebody asks what we're all about and what we do, I'll tell them, of course. And we find that, so I mentioned that, Guy and I were at an event in Dundee. When was that, Guy? I know you're meant to be off camera, but when did you start? When was week one for you?
On the 19th of May, so maybe the end.
A couple of months ago, maybe. A month and a half ago. And obviously picked up a couple of leads at that. And I think it was 5 weeks later, maybe, which is actually quite quick for a networking event. We'd signed a new client that we met at that event. I think the record so far is 18 months. So I met somebody at a trade show, and gave them a business card, and 18 months later they picked the phone up and became a paying client. So it doesn't always happen in the here and now as much as everybody in business wants it to. I think it's just about getting yourself out there, and that compounding effect starts to kick in after a while. You've got business cards here, there and everywhere, so that whenever somebody does actually need a bit of lead generation support, you're the guy or gal that they think about, and they'll hopefully find your card at the bottom of their laptop bag and give you a bell. So I off to a networking event tonight, which will probably round up about 9 or 10 o'clock. So a long day in store today, but I'm excited for it. I'm just back for a couple of weeks holiday, so I'm feeling recharged and fully enthusiasm. So we'll check in shortly. We've got a couple of minutes until we're pulling up to the podcast studio. I'll make sure that we give you a wee tour of all things in the studio, and speak to you soon. Right, we've arrived here. I think it's called the Abercrombie Business Centre. Such an old building, but such a cracking wee studio parked away in the corner. Let's go and have a look. Before we started the podcast, we actually considered just setting up a wee nook, a corner in the office, and thought, we'll buy all the kit ourselves, we'll get it set up, we don't really need a studio. Thankfully, before we pulled the trigger in that, we decided to just go and see a studio, just to appease ourselves. So we came in, we seen Mark and Cam, and I'm so happy that we did that, to be honest. It's completely plug and play. Not only that, the help and support and guidance they gave us at the start of the podcast when we just didn't have a clue what we were doing, you can't put a price on that. So we'll jump in, we'll show you the studio now, but Podcast Studio Glasgow, give them a look if you're considering starting a podcast yourself for your business. Absolutely, this is a class setup. This is tricky being in traffic. got a wee green room next door. Morning, how's it going? Didn't even know you were in there. Is it just arriving, is it? Aye. Oh, aye, yeah. Oh, well, I guess I'll just relax in the green room pending our guest arriving. No, this is cool, isn't it? It's a good wee setup. So aye, that was Mark and Cam, father and son duo. Mark's been involved in podcasting since before podcasting was even podcasting. Well over 20 years in the business, knows it inside and out. And I need to tip my hat to them. We turned up in episode 1 and we're just a bit like, what do we even do here? Like we were all looking at each other, tumbleweed, and they absolutely coach / dragged us through the first couple of episodes. So that's our guest just arriving. We'll go and grab him and then we'll get to a bit of recording. All right, so I'm sat at the infamous Risking It All desk. This is where it all happens. So podcast studio Glasgow, as you can see, an absolutely superb setup. Our guest has now arrived. We're T-minus a couple of minutes away from starting to record. So excited to get another one in the bag as always. And as you can see, when we were making that decision around, do we set up a wee corner in the office or do we go for a proper studio? I mean, there's no way I'm going to emulate this or come even close. So it's been an absolute masterstroke, to be honest, getting ourselves in here. Can't speak highly enough of the guys, but need to pop away now to get prepared to record their episode. See you in a couple of hours. Right, so another episode of the Risking It All podcast wrapped up. Well done, Mark. That was a brilliant episode, as always. If you haven't checked out our podcast YouTube channel, please do so. We'll put the link in the description somewhere. It's called the Risking It All podcast. It's a great bit of content every couple of weeks if you are a budding or even a tenured business owner and want to pick the brains of people that are in it, living it, experiencing it, going through the highs, the lows and the challenges. Check out the channel and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. Right, so another podcast episode in the bag. We are now off to Koya's with our guest, out for a bite to eat, have a catch up. As I mentioned earlier, he is actually an existing client. So it's a good opportunity for us to do a bit of a marketing review whilst we're having a bit of food, and then it'll be back to the office after that. So off to Koya as we go. We are parking the car up, paying for parking through good old Bingo, and now we are off to Koya's for a wee bit of lunch. Just like that, we're back in the office. So as planned, I had a call with a potential OEM partner, which is one of the key manufacturers in solar. Really good call, really promising start to the relationship. We had a good chat about how we can potentially help them, they can potentially help us. We'll see where it goes, but good start to the relationship. Then I had a wee session with a couple of people in the office around all things Claude. We've been doing some experimenting with some MCP connections. It's pretty mind-blowing and borderline scary, some of the stuff that it can do, but really, really impressed and excited to see how we can make some of our workflows a bit more efficient with the utilisation of Claude moving forward. And then didn't quite get my HR/boarding stuff complete. I've got a job description, an offer letter and an employment contract that I need to get wrapped up over the next few days for a business development manager that's joining us next month. But I'll get that sorted over the next couple of days. We're now just getting wrapped up for the day, but the day doesn't end here. We are off to a networking event in Glasgow this evening, good old Tartan Talks. in a room with 130 plus Scottish business owners, doing our thing, having a blather, meeting as many new people as we can, as always. I'll make sure that we capture some footage of that. I think it's going to be a nice, busy event tonight. Cheers, as always, for checking this episode out. If you've not yet liked and subscribed to the channel, please do that. It helps more than you could ever realise. And we'll be back soon with another episode.